Hello everyone and welcome to your Photoshop Creative Challenge. My name is Wade Acuff. I am an illustrator and animator, but I'm also your host today for this challenge. In the description below, you'll find a starter file that does have some goodies for you. You'll also find a way to join these challenges and to join our Photoshop Discord, where we will be providing feedback and it's an all-around great resource if you're trying to learn Photoshop. So check that out. Also, what's up, chat? How's it going? A lot of familiar faces in chat. We got Annika, Tim Loomis, Cody Bear. What's up? Ted, how are you doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Let's jump into it. How about that? All right, so today we have a silhouette illustration. Create custom brushes and use the render tools in Photoshop to design a silhouetted illustration. So I know we've all done these before, probably. If it's your first time, then this should be relatively easy as well. But we're going to try to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to show you how to make a brush or two. Well, one brush, actually. But we're going to start with just a new canvas. Let me start with a new file here. This can be any size you'd like. I'm just kind of working with what I normally work with. There's no real stipulation to this. But let's get to drawing first. I'm going to free up our background real quick. We'll need that later. If you press L, we're going to use, this is the drawing tool. One of the drawing tools we're going to use today. It's the lasso tool. That's right. Don't sleep on the lasso tool for drawing. You can make shapes, and if you fill them with either Shift F5, you can select a color, or black. We're going to use a lot of black today for these silhouettes. You can make your own little shapes. We're going to do that. But I'm also going to be using Control or Alt backspace to fill. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have that set up. But for the first drawing, we're going to make a slant, a slightly slanted uphill, super nice and easy. It's just going to drag around the canvas. And then I'm going to press Alt backspace, and it's going to fill with our color. Deselect. So this is kind of bland. That's fine, because we're going to use Photoshop, a Photoshop feature that I really like. I'm going to go ahead and name this real quick. Foreground. Add a new layer, because you're going to have this as a new layer. We're going to use the filter render tree feature. It's really kind of simple. It's great for, I would think it'd be great for architectural visualizations and things like that. But I'm going to walk through this real quick. I'm going to jump right down first to this randomized shapes. Turn that off at the beginning. Otherwise, every time you make an adjustment, it will change the tree that you're trying to make, because it's just going to make a random shape based off of everything you just changed. But lighting, it kind of lights around the tree. I'll just kind of bump through it. You can kind of see some of the different lighting. It may be hard to tell. Everything else is kind of self-explanatory. Leaf amount, add some leaves, take away some leaves. Leaf size, make the leaves bigger, make them smaller. Branch height could be a little tricky. This is really just saying how far up the tree the branches are starting. So we go as low as we can on this. First, well, while we're talking about branch height, you can make them go all the way to the top. Maybe something you want for some twigs or something, I don't know. But I forgot to tell you first about the base tree types. There are, 34 of these that you can adjust to make variations for every one of them. I'm going to select through a few of these. I mean, come on. I mean, that's insane. That's so good. I like the maple tree myself. I'm going to go ahead and reset to where we started. Then we go to branch thickness, and that is exactly what you think it would be. It's just you can make a chunky tree if you'd like. And there's also, in the base tree types, there are some stylized trees. So, be aware that that's a thing. In advanced, I'm not exactly sure what camera tilt is trying to do, but it does change variation of the tree. But as for the custom leaf color, this is exactly what you would think. You can change the leaf color to anything you would like. Well, leaves are mostly already green, so let's keep it blue. And then the same thing for custom color for branches. You can change it to whatever you would like. Flat shading, enhance contrast. That one I'm not sure if you can see what it's doing, but I think it's right on the edges. Flat shading for the branches and a leaf rotation lock, which makes everything face forward, I believe, towards camera. So there is a quick rundown of this. We're just gonna go, I'm gonna reset it, and that's gonna be our first tree. We're gonna make several of these, so if you missed that, we'll go through this again. Now you could make this a smart object by coming over here and convert to smart object. That way we can scale it as much as we want without losing any of our, without being destructive, and that's fine. But I know what you're thinking. You're like, Wade, that is not a silhouette. Come on, we can't use that. Look at this. But we can. I'm gonna make a new group. I'm gonna call this trees, I guess. I'm gonna make sure we put our file layer into the tree group, and then on top of that, I'll make a new layer. Put this on top. I'm gonna fill the entire layer with black. I'm just pressing Alt or Option and backspace. And then I'm going to hold down Alt or Option, hover between the tree group and the layer, and make a clipping mask. So now every layer we make, if we continue to put them into this tree folder, the layers will be silhouetted. So there we go. That's our first tree. We've made our first tree. Now we're gonna go back. We're gonna make about 5 of these. I may copy 1 or 2, but we're gonna go back to render tree. I really like the look of the, let's see. We can do an oak. We can do an oak. I'm gonna bring the leaf up. Just gonna make a few adjustments. Change the thickness on that, click OK. And if you were just to make this on a normal, like if I were to have done this on the other layer, it would just make multiple trees for one layer. Just so you know how that's going. I'm not going to make every one of these a smart object. That's not going to happen. Maybe we want this up here. Something like this. Sure. And we're just going to keep rolling here. Make a new tree. And I do want to make sure there's variety in all of these. Otherwise that's why I'm not just copying and pasting each one, because your eye will pick up on, oh, that's the same tree from over there. You don't really want that. Let's see, I don't really want that either. Leaf size maybe. I want to give these some sparseness is what I'm looking for in some of these, because I want to be able to peek through. Ooh, and I did it. I created it's on a new layer. I should have made a new layer. If you come back up to filter, the last used filter, it will have all the same settings and just create that for you. So boom. Thank you, Photoshop, for being convenient. So I'm going to put this way up here. I'm actually going to grab this one and pull it down a little bit and maybe scale it down. There we go. Enter. And I might copy this one just to bring it over here for a little bit of coverage. And then maybe we make one more tree. Filter, render. Oh, got to make a new layer. Also, you can't do that on a smart object. Has to be on a layer that's not a smart object. Render, tree. And let's make this one. Let's see about bringing this. I'm gonna make one really sparse, like almost twigs. Maybe the leaf size stays the same, but leaf amount comes down. That's kind of cool. Excellent. Okay, I'm really gonna scale this one down. Maybe tilt it a little bit. All right, looks good. Our foreground needs a little help though. So let's add some grass. I did provide in the starter file, there is a brush called Clumpy. We're gonna make another version of Clumpy because I just wanna show you guys how easy it is to make brushes in Photoshop. I'm gonna turn everything off, including the background, and then make a new layer up top. And I'm going to I'm just grabbing a brush that has some taper. And you can pick a hard round if you'd like, and you just can go into shape dynamics and change the minimum diameter, bring that all the way down. And I'm going to bring my brush down and just start making grass shapes. Look, it's going to be super rough. I'm not really... It doesn't matter that, you know, maybe these aren't uniform. That may be even better. Maybe even have like a long or thin one hanging out. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And I'm just going to paint this in. You could lasso this in. You don't even have to have a bottom to this brush, but I just, for some reason, wanted to have one so I could call it Clumpy. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Really raw, really rough. And then what I like to do for this is just go to image trim, make sure the transparency is on, click OK, and it's going to trim everything, all the it's only going to keep the pixels you need for your brush. So I'm going to go over to edit, define brush shape, and I think I'm on like Clumpy number 5, so I'm going to call this Clumpy 5. I don't know, there's a lot of Clumpies. And then I like to bump back into history, go before we trimmed. You can see right here. And then we get our canvas back. I'm going to hide their brushes. And then rename this layer brush. Boom, boom, boom. Hide that. We don't need that anymore. In fact, I'm going to drag it below our last layer. And then I'm going to make a grass layer. Name this grass. There we go. And then if I paint with Clumpy 5, that's not exactly what we want. So you can come in here to your brushes and go to brush shape, bring the spacing out. So now when you brush with it, and you can save that as a preset, and you can just brush and make some grass. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn everything on though, so we can see what we're doing. And I'm just going to kind of sparsely scale this up and down a little bit, actually, just to give it a little bit more variation. And there's really no wrong answer to this. Not really. If you don't like it, you can always erase it out. I just use the tilde key for that. If you have that, if that's available for you, some keyboards don't have that. You can always just use the eraser. Okay, so I think I want to do a little bit more to this foreground. I want to go back to our lasso tool. I'm telling you, don't sleep on the lasso tool as a drawing tool. It's really cool. I'm gonna make a big rock in here, or a rock shape. I don't know. And I'm gonna add a few of these along our little horizon here, or our hill. Again, Control or Command backspace or delete. Just making a couple rocks in here. It's kind of uniform. Let me add one more. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Oh, that was not what I was trying to do. Control D. There we go. Okay, cool. Now we need something off in the horizon, so we're going to add in some layers for that. But this is where things are going to get a little fun. I'm going to add in the first little mountain group of mountains. Going to be these nice rolling hills. And I like to dip it below down here just so that the foreground covers everything. And instead of just like filling this with a color, I'm going to go to the gradient tool, pressing G on the keyboard. And I went and just grabbed a pre-made purple. You'll find all of these basics in all the different orange, greens, pinks, gradients. I think I chose this one, but I wanted to make the darker color. Edit this and just pull this down slightly darker. Click OK, and we'll do some adjustments on this. But the way I'm layering, I'm going to make three layers, and the way I'm going to layer this is I'm going to have a there's going to be atmospheric perspective, so things are going to get lighter as we go back into space. But first, let's go ahead and do our first one here. Kind of want this to be relatively dark, so I'm going to make sure the gradient is already shifting to that darker color. Then I'm going to make another layer behind that, deselect, back to the lasso tool with the L. And then I want these to kind of be different hills. There's no right or wrong way, but I'm just trying to make sure that this doesn't look like the same layer. There we go. And then back to the gradient tool, G. I want this to be kind of a mid darkness, and not quite. You can kind of see a difference there. We'll make that a little. We'll make some difference. We'll increase the dark, how dark it is later on, as we make adjustments. I'm going to make a new layer, and then I'm just saying, we'll make some adjustments in a minute, and we'll make it all right. I'm going to add a few more hills to this very last layer here. I always want to make these, I tend to make these not sloping enough. So we're going to go with that. And then back to the gradient tool, and I want this to be very bright, so I'm going to start the gradient way up top. Okay, so that's okay. I'm going to go through and just use the levels on all of these real quick. I'm going to bump these down so that we can start to see more separation between these. Again, I'm pressing Control or Command L to bring up our levels. And I'm going to actually make this one a little bit brighter. And the same thing with this one. Again, Control or Command L, and bring this up, something like that. So now we have a little bit of that atmospheric perspective going on. And then we have to bring back our background, which I'm just going to hit with a Shift F5. Pick a color, grab this pink color, come up a little bit brighter, almost to white. Click OK. And there we have kind of a setting starting to happen, but we don't have any subjects. So I went and found this guy. Let's see if I can find him here. This guy hanging out on Adobe stock.adobe.com. I'll pull it up here. It comes in as a smart object. I don't care about that so much because I'm just going to crush the blacks to make sure we have a smooth silhouette. I'm going to bring him down to size, scale this down, kind of get it where we want it. I think there looks pretty good. Press Enter. I want him going uphill, so I'm going to go to Transform, flip horizontal, and now we have the start of something kind of cool. Let's make this into something. Actually, I want to bring him up just a little bit so he breaks that hill right there. Let's keep going with this. Let's make this into like a poster or maybe a postcard or whatever. Something visually appealing, hopefully. All right, new layer, and know what? No new layer. I'm going to do what we did yesterday and grab the shape rectangle tool, pop this over. And I'm doing this because I really like these rounded corners, and I'm just going to grab this and pull this down a little bit. And then I'm going to hit V so that I can move this. Let's see, that did not work. Oh wait, I have to set this to canvas so that I can get my alignment tools. Now I can just bump this into the center. But if you want to edit, you have to go back to the shape tool, and I do want to edit. I'm just going to bring this holding down Control or Command to kind of move these edges out. It's too far. You could also do something like a select and then decrease, or what is it called? Let's see, it's hit Enter. You could also modify to make this border, but I like doing it this way because it's super quick. I'm just going to hold down Control or Command and select the layer to give me this selection. I'm going to hide that layer, make a new layer, hit Control or Command Shift I to invert that selection, and then Shift F5 and then pick a color. I'm going to grab this purple, but I kind of want this to be blue-ish and less saturated, so it's not super bright. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that works. Deselect, name this border, and let's just keep rolling here. How about it? Press T for the type tool on your keyboard, and let's add some type. I really like this font. I'll show you the font as soon as I pick a color that will. There we go. So this is Fairwater Script. This is, I believe, from a font pack. I don't know the name of the font pack over on fonts.adobe.com, but it was in, I think it's like a state parks signage pack. I can't remember the name of it, but I don't want it to say Lorem Ipsum. I want it to say Take a Hike. I'll put this down here. I can use my alignment tools for that as well, but I really want to visually align this because I think putting it dead center is not quite where I want it. I'm gonna move this over so you can see it a little better. And then let's change this to, we could change this to like, you know, that pink color. I kind of like off-white a little better. There we go. So we get something like that. And that looks okay. It looks fine. But I think we can take this adventure a little further. If you want to use the assets I provided, we can. But that's what we're going to do right now. I'm actually going to get rid of this background that we just labored over. But that's okay. We're going to bring in a new background. Again, using some stock photography. And drop this in here. And then scale it up to fill our background. And I'll do some placement of this in a moment. We may have to scale it again. Drag this below our foreground and our silhouette. There we go. It's starting to look okay. I want to make sure that sun is peeking out. But you know what? I kind of want this to be more of an adventure. And so let's lose our silhouette guy. Let's bring in a couple of assets. I made these. Let's bring them in first, and then we'll talk about them for a minute. Just want to drag these in. We've got, I think this is Grandoff, the off-white maybe. And then we have, I think I named this Bilbert. I'm not sure, something like that. I just thought it'd be fun to have some silhouettes here. I'm gonna grab both of them. They're both on an adventure. Who knows where they're going? I'm gonna scale them down a little bit. So I made both of these with the pen tool in Photoshop and just made them they're in my shapes catalog. They're just right here sitting. I could drag those out and use them exact same way. I just popped them over into my library because that's how I like to work. But now we have a little bit of adventure. Let's bump this up a little bit. And if you've been watching Nathaniel Dotson for the past couple of days, he really gives you some tips. I promise I was already going to do this. This is like the second day this has happened, and I'm okay with it. I'm going to bump this sun up a little bit. By just grabbing a brush. We're going to grab a soft round brush. I'm going to select something close to that sun color. If I can find it. That's something I like. I'm going to bump this up just a little bit more. Click OK. Hide our brushes so you can see the layers. I'm going to call this sun. And then I'm just going to kind of paint over this. Just kind of letting that light creep through. And then I'm going to go really big on the same layer and just give it some haze. Give it some haze. And then you can set this to like a lighten or something like that, maybe even a screen. I think I like lighten better. And then you can even come over here and do the same sort of thing with these. This is just a little bit of added flair for this. Nothing crazy. Just some of that light popping through. But there you go. Yeah, definitely not copying Nathaniel. Absolutely not, Oliver. I promise this was made. This plan had been in motion over a week ago. So it's all good. But that's going to do it for today. I really want to see what you guys come up with. Put all your work and all of the challenges into the Discord. We're trying to give you feedback for everything you put in there. And I've been seeing a lot of good stuff so far. Really nice. I'm always blown away by the community, and it never ceases to amaze me what you guys do. But let's say stick around for, I think we're going to be making psychedelic and retro posters with Caroline Surrett coming up next. And that's going to do it. Thanks everybody, and we will see you guys real soon. Have a good one. Bye.